Okay, hi Zach, welcome to lesson number 69. This one starts on page 280, so here we go. This is the mother lode of lessons. I remember learning this. I think I was in high school, but I remember learning it in high school. If you ask Dad, he knows how to do this. This is the thing that you need to learn this year for sure, okay? Factoring trinomials, because this is super important. It's definitely going to be on every test. This is probably the most important lesson of the year. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is a quick little review of this, because check this out. How do you factor a plus b, the whole thing squared? Someone else is going to make this mistake, but not you, okay? You're going to say, you fool, you fell victim to one of the classic blunders. Because how do you really do that? A plus b, the whole thing squared, is the same as a plus b, times a plus b. And you know how to do that. That's multiplying binomials. And you don't do a squared plus b squared. You have to FOIL that. So it's going to be a squared first, outside. Outside is going to be ab. Inside is going to be ba. Last is going to be b squared. And then you can combine these two and make it 2ab. And this is the answer, right? So the reason I review that real quick is I don't want you to fall victim to one of the classic blunders. I don't want you to make the mistake. You're going to know better than that, right? It's not this, a squared plus b squared. That is wrong, but you will see that answer on your test. And you can definitely cross that out because you have to FOIL it, okay? All right, one more cartoon here. Here we've got a dog. It looks like he's in a trial. And it looks like this is the attorney, I think, and this is the accused, and the attorney is saying, "A cat killer? Is that the face of a cat killer? Cat chaser, maybe, but hey, who isn't?" Right? He actually, look at his face. Cat chaser. Yeah, I can see that. Except, how do you think he's gonna do? Because this judge, the jury, everyone, the audience, I don't know that they're going to be on his side. I guess we'll see how that one turns out. I wish him luck, though, because he's a cutie. All right. Now, we have to do a quick review of vocabulary because it introduces the term monomial. That's this term right here, monomial. A monomial is part of the Pollyanna Club. And you remember the Pollyanna Club, you have to have a powerful x to be in the Pollyanna Club. Remember, you have to have ax raised to the exponent of n. And that is what makes you in the Pollyanna Club. And a is any real number, and n is any whole number up here. But yeah, anyway, you remember all of that. And so you remember if it's just one of these terms, like the number 4, that is still in the Pollyanna Club because Pollyanna allows an x of 0. And remember, x of 0 just cancels out to 1. So even if it's just a 4, sure, that can be in the Pollyanna Club. That is allowed. Okay, what about 6x squared? Yes, because you've got an a here, you've got the x, you've got the exponent. The exponent is positive. That is allowed. Okay, this number, same. That number can be negative, but remember the exponent cannot be, so no negativity up there. But you've got an a, an x, and an exponent. This is in the Pollyanna Club. And it's also a monomial. And the reason it's a monomial is you're not adding two things together, right? Once you do this, then these together, that would be a binomial, right? And what if you add it together with this one, and this whole thing is one expression? That would be a trinomial, right? So these are all monomials when they're by themselves. Even this one. This is a monomial. Why? Because a, that is a real number. This 4.163, that counts as an a because it counts as a real number. Then you've got the x, you've got the positive exponent, so that counts. Remember, bi means two things, right? So a bicycle has two wheels. So if you hook two monomials together, you'll get a binomial. A trinomial has three wheels. If you hook three monomials together, you get a trinomial. Whoopsie. Anyway, there you go. All right. Now, that was a quick review on polynomials. Now, they want us to make sure that we're familiar with multiplying binomials, and I like the FOIL system. So if you have something like this is two things that we're multiplying together. This is a binomial, this is a binomial, so we're multiplying two binomials together. Then you do the FOIL system, which is the first, okay, multiply those first, then you do the outside, x and 1, then you do the inside, 9 and x, and then you do the last, which is 9 and 1. Okay, so that's sort of the FOIL system for multiplying it out. But they want you to also be familiar with the vertical format system. So what is the vertical format? I'm just going to show you really quickly. These are the same binomials that we saw up above. You've got x minus 6 on the one hand, x plus 3 on the other hand. And even though they're written on top of each other, they want us to multiply them together. So they're just doing this, x minus 6 times x plus 3, and showing you the vertical format for doing it. So the vertical format is basically what you do is you multiply this times this and then times this. And then you're going to take the 3 and multiply it by this and then multiply it by this. So that way you make sure that everything gets multiplied. So let's just do it really quick, okay, just to make sure that we're familiar with it. We're going to start with this and do x times x. So we get x squared. And then we're going to do x times negative 6. So we're going to do minus 6x. Okay, and then they want you to stop there and do one more column underneath. And the reason for doing one more column underneath is you'll see these two middle expressions get added together. So then we've multiplied this times everything up there. Now let's multiply the 3 times everything up there. So we're going to start with 3 times x, and we get 3x. So I put that there. Then we're going to do 3 times negative 6, and we get minus 18, so that goes here. And now when we look at this thing here, you can see why we wrote it the way we did, because we're going to add these together. So we just add all of these things top to bottom, you know, because they would really be added side by side, but they're just trying to make it in a way that makes it more sense, I guess. X squared, then when I do this column, it's going to be minus 3x minus 18. But this is really, I just want to emphasize, this is the same as writing it like this. It's the same as foiling it out. So that's what you get when you FOIL it out. And then you add these together and you get this. So it's the same thing. All right, let's do another vertical expression, like multiplying it out with the vertical format, just to make sure that we understand it, okay? So we're going to start by multiplying this times this, and then we're going to do this times this. Okay, so the first one, x times x is going to be x squared. The second one, x times negative 6 is going to be minus 6x, okay? Then we're going to multiply this times everything above it. Negative 3 times x is going to be minus 3x. And then negative 3 times negative 6 is going to be positive 18. Okay, now I'm going to add these together. I get x squared, and I have to be careful here because minus 6x minus 3x is going to take you to minus 9x on the number line. Okay, so that's what you get. And remember, this is the same as foiling it out. If you FOIL it out, you would get that. This would be first, outside, inside, last. Okay, so do whichever way makes more sense to you. We're going to do one more. And look at these binomials that we're multiplying together. On the top, you have an x and a 6. They're just changing this sign. On the bottom, you have an x and a 3. They're just changing this sign. So they want you to pay attention to what's happening as they do that, okay? So the first step, x times x, we're going to do x squared. Second step, x times 6, we're going to do plus 6x. Next step, 3 times x, we're going to do plus 3x. I almost wrote it to the side, which would be fine too. And on the end, we're going to add 18. So it seems like it's a little easier when they're all positives, I think. You have x squared plus 9x plus 18. Okay, easy peasy. Perfect. Now, they want you to notice a couple things. So look in your book on page 280. We just did A, B, and C. I want you to look at those answers. All of those answers that you get are trinomials. When you multiply two binomials together, you get a trinomial. And these trinomials that they have, I'm just going to write down one of the answers. This is the answer to A that we just did. X squared minus 3x minus 18. So this is a trinomial. Why? Because it has three monomials. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's called a quadratic trinomial. A quadratic trinomial. And I looked this up because I was like, okay, I need to remind myself what this is. And they say that quadratic means that the highest power of the variable is 2. That means when I look at this answer, these are the variables. X is the variable. This has an exponent of 1. This has an exponent of 2. And the highest you're going to get is 2. You're not going to get a 3. You're not going to get a 4. You're not going to get, if you do this correctly and you multiply two monomials together, and those just have x, I guess I should say, you're going to get a quadratic trinomial. This is a quadratic trinomial. And then I was like, well, why is this quadratic? Quad means 4. So I was like, wait a minute. So I had to look this up too. If quad means 4, why is it a quadratic? And it's because the highest power that you get is squared, but remember that squared means you turn something into a square. This is x, this is x. The length of those two sides are x. In order to square it, you multiply them together and you get x squared. And a square has 4 sides. So when you have an expression like this is actually referring to a square. And a square has 4 sides. That's why quad means 4, but when they say a quadratic equation, that means the highest power it's going to have on any of its variables is going to be 2. Okay, now we're going to do a reverse. And what I mean by that is this next part, this is the crux of the lesson. This is what you need to learn. So this is where you need to really start paying attention, okay? Don't skip ahead. We're going to take an equation like this and basically backwards FOIL it so you have 2 binomials. And that's called factoring. So we're going to be factoring a quadratic equation. Factoring a quadratic equation. Man, say that expression to anyone over the age of 30 and they'll start having PTSD because we had to factor quadratic equations till our fingers were bleeding, right? Okay, here we go. This is how we do it. Now, but first we're going to look for patterns. So these are some rules. If you remember this part, it's going to make it easier to start factoring trinomials, quadratic trinomials, because you'll notice the patterns. So let's look at the patterns. These are the things that we multiplied together earlier. X minus 6, x plus 3. These are the things we were multiplying, okay? Let's notice number 1, the first term of the answer. So this is the product of the first terms of the binomials. Yeah. So the way you get this is you multiply these together. The way you get this is you multiply these together. Same. Okay? So that is step 1, and that's going to be the easiest part. Okay? The last term. Let's look at the last term. You've got a negative 18, a positive 18, and a positive 18. The last term is the product of the last terms. So if you multiply these together, Positive 6 times positive 3, you get 18. Negative 6 times negative 3, you get positive 18. Negative 6 times plus 3, you have negative 18. Okay? I'm going to let that sink in. The last is the product of these. Now, the middle term. The coefficient of the middle term. So they're talking about this number, this number, this number, is the sum of the last terms. So if you just add these together, not multiply, if you add them together, you're going to get this. If you add these together, negative 6 and negative 3, you get a negative 9. If you add these together, negative 6 plus 3, you get a negative 3. Okay? Whew, that's a lot. Let's look at the last rule. If all the signs in the trinomial are positive, so that only refers to this last one. If all the signs in the trinomial are positive, then that means all the signs in both binomials are positive. Okay? If there is a negative sign anywhere in the trinomial, that means at least one of the terms is negative. So it could be both, like here, but at least one is going to be negative. Okay, so if you've got a negative sign anywhere here, anywhere, then one of these has to be negative. At least one of them could be both. All right, those are the rules. And then it turns something like this into a little mystery. If you think about it as a little mystery or a little game, it's going to be fun, and maybe you might even actually enjoy it, okay, because it is kind of interesting. So let's try and figure this one out. The first term in the trinomial, remember, the first term in the trinomial is the product of the first terms in the binomials. So what if we have an x here and an x here? That fits the rule because x times x is going to be x squared. That's the first thing you FOIL out. Okay? Now it gets quite a bit harder because the product of the last terms, so we're going to have a space here. Let me just write a space and a space here. These two, if you multiply these two together, you're going to get this. So in order to figure that out, we're going to have to factor that number 18. So how do we factor the number 18? Let me get a different color. Negative 18 is equal to, what could the answers be? It could be the number 1 and the number 18 because 1 times 18 is 18, but this is negative. So you can't multiply a positive times a positive and get a negative. One of those has to be negative. So it could be negative 1, or it could be, well, let's do this. 1 and negative 18. Okay. What else could it be? What are other factors of the number 18? I'm going to make this small. Okay, that's one possibility. What's another possibility? Negative 18 is equal to 9 times 2, right? 9 times 2. I'm going to make one negative. Then I'm going to make the other one negative. Could be that. That could be it. Could be. We don't have enough information yet, but that could be it. Where am I going to put that? I'll put it up here. Okay, next one. What else could it be? Negative 18 could also be, could also be 6 times 3, right? So let's do 3, 6. Let's make the 3 negative. 3 and negative 6. Okay, so these are all the factors. It has to be one of those numbers. Like it could be a 1 here and a negative 18, or it could be a negative 3 and a 6, but it's going to be one of these pairs of numbers, right? So how do we figure that out? Now we've got all the choices. We also know, according to rule number 3, that they have to add together to make a -3. So which one of these add together to make a -3? Let's look at 18 and 1. 18 minus 1 is 17. So that's out. Can't be that. -18 plus 1 is -17. That's out. I'm just going to erase those. Gone. 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 All right. What about these? Okay. 6. Let's look at the first one. 6 plus a -3. 6 minus 3 is 3, but it's a +3, so that's out. Erase. What about this one? -6 plus 3 is -3 if we add them together. So that's a winner, winner, chicken dinner. So this, I think it could be this ordered pair because they add up to -3 and they multiply to -18. But I'm going to check the other ones just in case. So let's check these other ones too. -9 and +2, you know what? Their difference is 7 no matter what. So I'm just going to delete that because when you add them together, you're just going to get 7. So I know that the winner, winner, chicken dinner is this pair of numbers. So it's going to be like a 3 here and a -6 here. And one of them has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. And I already know which is which because their sum has to add up to this. So this is going to be x plus 3 in the first one. And it's going to be x minus 6, whoops, minus 6 in the second one. That's okay if it's a giant minus sign. All right, now what we do is we check our answer, okay? So if we check our answer and we FOIL this, let's do the FOIL. First, x times x is x squared. Outside is 3 and -6, so it's let's see, minus 18. First outside, yep. Oh wait, I did that wrong. Sorry. Outside is x and the -6 because it's the outside of each. So it's minus 6x, then inside plus 3x, then last is minus 18. And then I can combine this part. Minus 6x plus 3x is just minus 3x. Okay, so that's the same as this. So I checked it and I got it right. So basically, this is what I just did. Basically, the general approach to factoring a quadratic trinomial that has a leading coefficient of 1. So what that means is the first part is x minus something or x plus something. And this has a coefficient of 1 because it's like 1x. If it's something else like a 2 or something there, we're going to get to that later. But if we're starting out with just an x and that's a coefficient of 1, the first thing you do is find the pair of factors. There's going to be 2 that go together of the last term whose sum is the middle term. The sum has to be the middle term. So they give us another example. And this is the next one they want us to factor. This is basically on the middle of page 281. But it says, this is the general approach. Find 2 numbers that when you multiply them together, they make the last term. When you add them together, they make the middle term. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is to take this last term, find all of its factors. So it could be 16 and 1. And these are both positive, so this is a positive number, so these have to be multiplied together to make a positive number. But you could also have -16 and -1. You could have that. Okay, what else could you have? What else makes 16? 4 and 4 does. So you could have, I'm writing too big. I need to I'm running out of room. Okay, so let's see. You could have 4 and 4. And you could have -4 and -4. Okay. What else could you have? What else multiplies together to make 16? How about 2 and 8? 2 and 8. Or -2 and -8. Okay, now you've got a list of numbers that multiply together to make 16. Which of them add together to make the middle term? And the middle term is -8x. So which of these, if you add them together, make -8? And as I look through, I'm just thinking, okay, it's not that one. That if I add those, that's 17. If I add these, it's -17. If I add these, it's 8. This is the winner. If I add these together, that makes -8. And nothing else does. Okay. Sometimes you can figure that out in your head. Sometimes. But this is the safest way to do it, is to factor out all the products and then add them together, see which sum up to that. So now that you have those numbers, your answer is going to be x minus 4 times x minus 4. Because these negative signs come from these negatives. And you can always check it to make sure. Just FOIL it. And let's do that actually. So we check it by multiplying. So we're going to put x minus 4, x minus 4. Okay, so we're going to FOIL it. First, x squared. Outside is the x and the -4, so minus 4x. Inside, so that's going to be these two multiplied together. So that's minus 4x. And last, which is going to be this times this, which is positive 16. So when you combine these terms, you get x squared minus 8x plus 16. And you make sure that that's the trinomial that you started with. Once you make sure, then you can check it. You make sure that's right. Okay? Alrighty. Whew, this is tricky. You're probably feeling a little like Lucy there, like, oh my gosh. Let's just keep doing some examples. Don't skip ahead. You know that these examples get more and more complicated. This is example 69.1 on page 282. So it says to factor this. So we want to start with two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get -15. If you add them, you get -14. So I'm going to look at that and figure out that there's going to be a 15 and a 1 somewhere in there. But, you know, if you multiply to get -15, my list is going to be -15, positive 1, or positive 15, -1. You can also have 3 and 5. Let's do 3 and -5. And also, whoops, let's do -3 and positive 5. What else is a factor of 15? That's pretty much it, right? So now which one of these can you add together to get -14? And as I scan through, I can tell it's this one because 15 minus 1 is 14. So then my answer is going to be this one. And then I just turned that into x plus 15 times x minus 1. That's the answer, okay? And then I'm not done yet. I'm going to check it. I'm going to check it to make sure. Well, I'm going to check it up here, I guess. Let me erase this so it's not confusing. Okay, so let's FOIL this out. Let's do first, which is x times x. That's going to be x squared. Outside, minus 1x. Inside is going to be 15x. Last is going to be -15. So then I combine these terms in the middle. 15 minus 1x is 14x minus 15. Is that the same as what it was up top? Yes, oh. No, it's not. It's not. Oh, because I messed up. Because I messed up. This should be negative 15, and this should be positive 1. All right. Okay, so that's a good example of how you mess up and catch yourself. Let's FOIL this now and make sure that we get the right answer. I messed up somewhere in there. Sorry about that. Let's do x times x, which is x squared. Outside is x times 1 plus 1x. Inside is negative 15 and x, so minus 15x. Last is going to be negative 15 times 1, so it's minus 15. And then I combine these two, so I get x squared minus 14x minus 15. Is that the same as above? Yes, it is. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So we are done. We checked that off. Perfect. Okay, let's do the next one. This is getting fun now, right? Right? So fun. Oh, stop your whining. This is going to be fantastic. All right, let's factor this one. Now, the first thing I need to do is figure out two numbers that when I multiply them, I get negative 10. When I add them, I get positive 3. So I know there's going to be a negative in there somewhere. So multiply to get negative 10. What is my list? I could do a 10 and 1, but I don't see how that's going to add up to 3. So I don't think it's going to be those. What else could it be? 5 and 2? What about a positive 5, negative 2, or a negative 5, positive 2? Oh yeah, I think that's going to do it, right? Because this does not add up to 3. This does not add up to 3. 5 minus 2, 3. Winner, winner. We got it right here. Okay, so how do I make a binomial out of this? Easy peasy. We're going to do x minus, well, let's do x plus 5, x minus 2. Okay, so now this is the answer I think it is. So in order to double check, we're going to FOIL it out, right? So first, x times x is going to be x squared. Outside is going to be x times minus 2. Inside is going to be 5x. Last is going to be 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Now I can combine these two together. 5 minus 2x is going to be 3x. So x squared plus 3x minus 10. Is this the same as this above? Yes. Check. Did it right. Yay! I'm getting the hang of this. All right, you getting the hang of this, or am I going too fast for you? No, I'm sure you can keep up. All right, let's do example 69.3. Uh-oh. This one is tricky. I see a tricky thing here, and the tricky thing is this thing. What do we do with that? Everything we've been doing says the coefficient has to be 1. So the first thing that we're going to do is, then I'm going to notice that this is not written in descending order. Has to be written in descending powers of the variable, but that's easy to fix because we can just change the order. X squared, that comes first, minus 5x plus 6. Okay, is this the same equation as this above? Yes, it is. Order of, it's just addition all the way across, and commutative property says it doesn't matter what your order is. So that's the same equation. So this is much easier to solve because now I can just FOIL it into two things, right? Two things. All right, so I need two numbers that multiply together to get positive 6, add together to make negative 5. I know one of them is going to be a negative in there, right? So we already know that. So multiply to get 6. What could it be? Could be 6 and 1. What about negative 6, positive 1? Or positive 6, negative 1. You could do it with also, actually, this one's tricky. This one is tricky because you could, there are two answers here. I think there are two answers. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. Oh, but look, the first thing I got to do is fix my signs, because this is a positive 6. That does not multiply to get positive 6. So let's fix that. This has to be a negative, and this has to be a negative 6. Okay. Now those two will, if you multiply them together, do make 6. What else can you multiply to get 6, positive 6? What about 3 times 2? Negative 3 times negative 2, or just a regular 3 and 2. But there's because of this negative sign here. Oh, I was redundant here. Sorry about that. Because of this negative sign here, there has to be at least one negative. And it looks like there's going to be 2. All right, so which of these, if I add them together, make negative 5? Okay. And I thought this one was going to, because I thought, oh, maybe 6 minus 1. But no, only a dummy would think that, because negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7, not negative 5. So negative 3 minus 2 does make negative 5. So this one's going to be the answer. Everything else is not the answer. Why is everything else not the answer? Because it has to have one negative at least because of this. So that means that these are gone. So I'm going to erase those. It has to add up to negative 5. This adds up to negative 7, so that's gone. And this is the only one left. And they do multiply together to make positive 6, and they add together to make negative 5. So the answer is going to be x minus 3 and x minus 2. Okay, let's FOIL it out just to make sure, because I really screwed that one up. Let's do first, x and x is x squared. Outside is x and negative 2, so minus 2x. Inside is going to be negative 3 and x there. Last is going to be negative 3 times negative 2, which is positive 6. So now we're going to do x squared minus 5x plus 6. Is that the same as this? Yes, it is. Check it off. Done. Bam. We did it. All right. Example 69.4. This is the last one. Pay attention. Pay attention. Be like, I can see through your little scheme. You know what? Because they are pulling a little scheme on this one. And we can see right through it. Now, look at the order. Is that the right order? No, it is not. We need to change this around. It should be x squared plus 6x plus 5. That's the same as what's above. It's just written in the right order. So don't let them mess you up on that. That's just an easy fix. Now, we need two numbers that multiply to 5 and add to 6. Oh, that's easy. 5 and 1. Multiplies to 5 and adds to 6. 5 and 1. Is the last one really going to be this easy? I think it is, but we can check it to be sure. Let's do first, x and x is going to be x squared. Outside, x and 1. Inside, plus 5x. Last is this 5 and 1. It's going to be plus 5. We combine this middle part. I'm just going to erase it and do plus 6x. And then this is plus 5. Is this the same as this? Bam. Did it. Done. That was awesome. Yay. All right, a little cartoon for you. Okay, look at this. This poor lady has 2 dogs. And this dog is the one talking, right? He's talking to the other dog. You want to have some fun, Fred? Watch. I'm going to go over and stare and growl at the closet door. Oh, that's just mean. Those stinking dogs. I can't believe they would totally do that too. That would freak me out. I would be so scared. Poor lady. I feel bad for her, those stinking dogs. All right. Have fun, Zach, doing your homework today. Love ya. Bye.